Okay, let's look at what an inequality is. So you've had some problems where you solved something like that, and you divided both sides by 3, and you came up with one value, right? Well, what we want to do now, instead of coming up with one value, what if we could have more than one value? Like, what if 3x is less than 15? I still do everything the same, okay? So I would divide by 3, I would divide by 3, but now what this is saying is x is any value less than 5. And how you would say that in what's called interval notation, so less than 5 would be at 5 and all the way down to infinity. Okay, so we are not including 5, and when that occurs, you'll see we use a parentheses. So in interval notation, negative infinity up till 5, but does not include 5. If we included 5, it would be less than or equal to 15. And then the same thing when we solve this, but now we would see we would get x is less than or equal to 5. The line looks exactly the same. The only difference is now we're including 5, and that's where you'll see the square bracket, and the same within the interval notation. So that's one of the big differences is instead of just one value, now you're looking at many values. So in other words, we're saying x could be 4, 3, 2, -7, anything less than 5. All right, now over here it talks about the only big thing you have to be careful of is if you divide, so let's do this same thing here. It says if you do an inverse operation, in other words, multiplication or division by a negative number, you flip the inequality. So I am dividing by a negative number. When that happens, the inequality gets flipped. Okay, so that's one of the biggest difference. And then of course I would have something that looks like this, -5. That's an ugly one, but that's a parentheses. And now I would be from -5 to infinity. So you have to be careful when you're solving inequalities that you follow these actual rules. They'll get a little bit more difficult, meaning a little bit more, parts as far as I had 4x plus 3 is less than or equal to 31. Just do all the same steps as you've been doing. Pretend this is an equation, that you're solving an equation. 4x less than or equal to, that would be 28. And now I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And I get x is less than or equal to 7, which would be negative infinity and including 7. So the same thing with 7, and then all the way down and including. So when it comes to solving these, you're pretty much going to be doing the same thing with the equation. The only time you have to be careful is multiplying or dividing by a negative number. You flip that sign. Otherwise, you're pretty much doing the same thing. You're just reporting an interval now that values can equal instead of just one number.